All right, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool and Jonathan. Today we've got a special guest on the call with us. What is this thing called? A podcast? Is that what it is?
I believe
I was in conference call mode there. Man, showing my age. Yeah,
so, it is a podcast.
On the podcast today, I was actually thinking about old school conference calls today, and maybe that's what got stuck in my head. But anyway, we're going to be talking about a book, and the book is called Confessions of a Professional Conspiracy Theorist. So we're going to be talking about that today, and we're going to be talking with the author of the book. I'll let you. So this should be interesting because it says not a true story. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we'll see what we learn, but it's
a masterclass in how belief is made, managed, and woven into our everyday lives.
Yeah.
It's based on real world events, and it's a story which shows how any belief can be manufactured if one understands the levers of psychology and culture.
Right.
So we have the author. Yeah, we have the author joining us. He is Will's been in the PR. He's been in public relations a long time. He goes by the name Will Camden, and he'll explain. Our guest is Patrick Clark, aka Will Camden. He is an author and a 30-year veteran of public relations and strategic communications. For 3 decades, he's worked at the intersection of commerce, culture, and belief, advising on the narratives that shape our world. Started his career back in the 90s. He's done some work. He's going to share some examples of some of the stuff that he's done. His early work ranged from classic brand battles to shaping the public's perception of major cultural events such as Glastonbury, as the Glastonbury Music Festival. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Good, because I don't. Us Americans, we're like, oh, we're scratching our heads.
It didn't happen in the Southeast. Growing up, I don't know about it.
Yeah, but he can explain. So,
all right.
All right. With that said, we're going to welcome Mr. Patrick Clark onto the show. Should be an interesting discussion today.
Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Sean.
Hey. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Nice to be here.
It's super interesting looking.
The cover of the book.
We probably should ask you to send us a copy before the show. That might have been helpful.
I'll send one over after the show. I'll put one in the post tomorrow.
Oh man. We're so
good. Yeah. All right. We're getting a little bit of an echo, I think. Are you hearing that, Jonathan?
I'm not hearing it on my end.
Okay. I think we're good,
Patrick. Then. Okay.
Yeah, everything's okay with me.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, why don't you, first of all, since your name is Patrick on the screen, we're going to be calling you Patrick, but we're going to be talking about Will, who you kind of are and kind of aren't. So why don't we, before we do that, though, we'll get into that after the beers, actually. So before we get into that, Patrick, give people a reason besides unraveling that knot that we tied between you and Will. Why should people stick around? What are some kind of juicy stuff that they might want to stick around for?
Well, like you said, we're here to talk about this book, Confessions of a Professional Conspiracy Theorist. It's a story about how belief is manufactured, but not just with conspiracy theories. It's your podcast is about persuasion and influence. And that's what this book is about, really. It's about everyday persuasion, everyday influence, whether it's influencing you on what you have for your breakfast or what drink you have, what beer you like to drink, what clothes you wear, on and on and on. And it shows the similarities where the same techniques that are used to persuade you to do these things are the same techniques that are used to get people to buy into conspiracy theories. I think conspiracy theorists themselves get a bit of a bad rap, a bit of a bad name. but the aim is to show that they're just humans and they are influenced and persuaded to believe all sorts of things in the same way as everybody else is. And that's hopefully what we'll be talking about, and I can show.
Yeah. That sounds good. Well, I'm sure we have people on both sides of the conspiracy aisle, so
we enjoy topics like this, you know, cults, all of that stuff, how cults are made. You know,
I saw that on your website. I'm gonna sit down and watch that. That's really interesting one, I think.
Yeah.
So Patrick, you're in the UK. So what do you have in this evening for your beverage on the show?
Well, I was planning to buy an American one so I could give you my honest review of your American beers. I couldn't find any worthwhile ones. Just the usual, you know, Budweiser, which you don't want to. You don't really want to hear my opinion on that. It's okay, but we have our own.
Probably match ours. Actually, we don't have Budweiser on the show, so
so I couldn't find any. So I was checking out what to have, and I found this Japanese one. I think Sean, you've seen this before, haven't you?
Yeah. Asahi. Yeah.
Asahi. So I've drank this before, and you know, when I was buying it, something came to me. So I bought this Japanese inspired beer. You two are sitting there drinking craft beer, I'm assuming, and I've got a brother, Philip, who's also watching us tonight, and he's sitting there drinking his Australian beer. And it did make me realise that there's three groups of people here, all drinking different sorts of beer that are sort of marketed to particular personalities, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it reminded me about, you know, identity marketing, how things are pushed at us, not just because of how they taste, but because we identify with them. We see them as being part of who we are. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that, because I'll be bringing that in later on about why people believe, well, one of the reasons why people believe in conspiracy theories is it's because that's the sort of person they are. They're interested in these topics.
You're just tapping into what they
their identity, who they see themselves as, what sort of person they see themselves as. So So I mean, my brother Philip, he's at home now, putting his feet up, drinking his Australian beer.
It's Australian.
I wouldn't advise for anyone to. But he's
it's like midnight where he is
really
tomorrow morning.
He's a really no frills type of bloke. My brother is. And,
what's his name? We'll say hello to him.
Yeah, his name's Philip. Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, he'll be watching there with Helen, his wife, and the two dogs.
Fantastic.
So, he's a no frills kind of bloke, and he likes a no frills sort of beer, which is Australian, and it's a nice no frills beer, and it's enough alcohol in there to get him drunk, and it's a decent price. That will do for him. He doesn't want anything else.
That'll do.
Let's go the opposite direction, because I think Jonathan has the exact opposite of what you just described based on what he said. So what do you have up there, Jonathan?
So I have a 10W. This is from Highwire Brewing Company, and it's a 10W40. We've had a number of their 10W40 series on our podcast. This one is different though. It is it's a 10W40 coconut chocolate bar. Wow. Hold it up. I want to show it on the screen here. It is, let's see. I need to stop screen. I'll share this one instead. You know, we were talking about the Almond Joy.
Yeah.
And so this one is like not the Almond Joy, but the Mounds.
Right.
It's like a Mounds bar in a can.
Wow. With some beer poured over it.
A
stout poured over it, right?
So,
I assume it's
no, it's an imperial stout actually.
Oh, okay.
Imperial stout brewed with cocoa nibs, coconut candy, syrup, vanilla, and lactose.
Oh, very cool.
Of course, it does.
That sounds right up my alley. That sounds good.
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
Looking forward to this one.
All right. Well, I have got, again, I went to the since we moved, I have not found a store close to me that has a decent selection.
Right.
So I'm going to have to drive this weekend and stock up. But so I went to the single section of the supermarket, which means you get a lot of the national crap. So here's the Modelo Chelada Negra con Chile. So this is a Modelo beer with tomato and chili, basically, which is apparently a thing. A chelada is the thing. Is basically beer and it's supposed to be like tomatoes, but it's only 3% alcohol, so it's almost not even alcohol. But
not even alcohol.
But anyway, it smells like.
It sounds like it would be a nice soup, I think, that one, rather than
it does. But yeah, so I'm a little nervous about this one. It smells like somebody spilled fruit punch into their beer. That's what it smells like.
Ooh, I don't know.
All right,
I feel bad rating coming on.
I know, right? So let's cheers it up to a good show.
Yes,
to all
cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Sean, speaking of yours, I was traveling this week and visited a local brewery up outside of Chicago, and they had a jalapeno ale.
Okay.
So I had to try it, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was awful.
I'm still deciding on this. Patrick, we let our guests go first. You're going to give it a rating of 1 to 5 pints. You can use decimal points, whatever you want. But what would you give that dry Japanese beer on a scale of 1 to 5 pints?
1 to 5, I'd give it 3.5, 4.
All right. Very good.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my go-to beers. It's nice and smooth. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a nice finish because it's so dry. It has almost no aftertaste to me, if I remember correctly.
It is. It actually says it's super dry, but I'm not sure about that. But it is. It's dry and it's smooth. Yeah, it's nice. We'll go for 4. I think I'll go for 4 out of 5.
All right, 4 out of 5. Jonathan, what's it like to?
You go first.
Okay, so I'm going to go
because I'm still debating on this one. This one may get an elite rating.
Uh-oh. Yeah, so mine, it kind of tastes like a watered down Bloody Mary, if I'm being honest. It's just a little extra carbonation because of the beer. But it kind of tastes like a weak Bloody Mary is what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Which is not great. I keep making faces, so I keep trying to like it, but it's just not.
It's not
awful, but it's not something I would get again. I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Oof.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So that's a pretty low score.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. If you get under a 3, you're in bad territory.
I did a bad job choosing, so I have to make up for it.
I consider giving this one a 5. It is very good.
Okay.
Sean, I think you would like it if you can find it. I highly recommend it.
Total Wine and Beverage this weekend.
Yeah. It's excellent. But I'm not going to give it a 5. It's very difficult to get a 5 on our show, Patrick. You really have to cover your bases. So this one's getting
you can never give anything top score because you're not leaving any room for something better to come along.
That's right. That's right. You got to leave room for perfection. There's rarely perfection. I'm giving this one a 4. I'm going to give it a 4.85. 4.85.
There you go. Solid score.
And that's it's basically a stout. Did you say your beer?
It's an imperial stout. It's 8%, and it has a flavor. I don't know if you're a big chocolate and coconut fan, but it has those flavors in there.
I am, but not in my beer. I mean, I'm a big stout fan. I love Guinness. And I love
it's
coconut.
Yep. I think you might like this. You might like this. It's got some good flavor in it.
Yeah, I don't think in Europe and stuff you're allowed the clean food laws to have those kind of beers over there. So
yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, Patrick, let's jump in
over here.
Let's jump in, Patrick. Give us a little background about this book and who Will Camden is compared to you. and that part of the story. And then we'll kind of start unwrapping the book and the stories that you've got in there, and some of the other stuff that goes with it.
Well, I guess if I go back to, say, 25 years ago, when the idea for the book first came to me, when I was actually sort of interested in David Icke books, and then I'll lead through. I'll let you know where I was there in my own life and in my own thoughts about conspiracy theories, and then how I met Will Camden. So there is an actual real person called Will Camden. He's my friend and my boss. And I'll tell you the story of how I met Will just at the right time in my life. And he told me his story about his working life and how it sort of tapped into what I was already thinking anyway. So should we do that? Shall I go back all those years? Yeah. So I mean, David Icke is well known over in the States, is he?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people call him Icky and Ike, and
nobody
knows how to pronounce his name, but
his name's So his name's Ike. It's an unusual name. It's not really a typical English name, but it's David Icke. So anyway, so over maybe 25 years ago, I read one of his books. It was before, actually, he hasn't always promoted conspiracy theories. Before he started writing those, he wrote a book that was more of a spiritual book, if you like. It was all about what I know now as a sort of new age spiritual sort of book. And I read it and I found it really interesting. I didn't necessarily buy into it and sort of go along with it, but I found the whole story, what he was describing, interesting, should we say.
Yeah.
And then sometime later he brought out another book. I can't remember the name of it, but this would have been his first conspiracy book. A completely different change, a completely different sort of change of themes. And I read it and it was fantastic. I don't know if you've ever read one of his books. It's massive, big, thick books, these are. And they're effectively, or they used to be, effectively a story, a history of the world, if you like. So he would lay out a history of all the European monarchies, or the American presidents. He would lay out the history of our monetary system, our healthcare system, on and on and on. Things that we don't actually learn in school over here. And it was all new to me. And I found it really, really interesting. So I got into David Icke, not necessarily believing or going along with all his conspiracy theories. And I think this is quite important, actually, that people who follow these things and read these things, they don't necessarily buy wholeheartedly into everything that they're told. It's interesting. It's interesting information, and that's what a lot of people get from it. So one day I noticed that David Icke was appearing on this TV channel in the UK. It was this satellite TV station, really obscure one, right down the listings. And he was appearing as a guest on this sort of thing, a sort of an interview sort of program. And I watched it, and it was really good. And over time, I really watched this channel, and this channel was called Edge Media TV, I think it was called at the time. And it was just a load of programs about UFOs and aliens and crop circles and all these sorts of mystery sort of subjects. And it was a fantastic channel to watch, really obscure.
Right.
And their flagship program was on a Thursday night, and it was this sort of program, interview. And David Icke appeared on there. And then each week they had a different guest on there that would spin their narrative, if you like. And more it got into conspiracy theories. And they had a different guest on each week. And the thing that they all had in common was they always used to say, don't take my word for this. Go away and do your own research and find out for yourself, which in them days, the internet was still quite new, but it was a fantastic tool, so we all got on the internet and we were researching what all these people were telling us. And it soon became apparent to me that they weren't telling us the whole story. All these people weren't really connected to each other, but most of them were only telling us one side of the story that they were promoting. I didn't realise at the time this is a technique called card stacking, which you'll probably be aware of. So they were only presenting the information that sort of backed up the story that they were telling. They weren't telling us the whole package. They weren't putting the other side to the story out there. And to me, that said that they had an agenda. If somebody's trying to convince you of something, but they're only telling you certain aspects of it, certain parts of the information, they're trying to influence you and believe and make you believe in something that they want. You know, they're not interested in giving you a rounded story, if you like.
Right.
So I sat up and took notice. I thought, this is, you know, they've obviously got an agenda, all these people. They're sort of leading us down a certain path to a certain way of thinking. And sorry, bear with me. I did make some notes of some of the techniques that so one of the guys that was on there, so they all used to use card stacking. And at the same time, they all seem to be coming from different angles, but the paths all led to the same place. It was like different journeys, if you like, different ways to get into the same sort of thing. And they all had something in common. And it was all anti-establishment sort of rhetoric, or it was a belief in aliens. They were coming from different angles, but they wanted us to believe in aliens. And I thought, this is a bit peculiar. They're lying to us or only telling us one side of the story. They're all leading us to the same way of thinking, you know, a belief in certain topics. And I started seeing it as a deliberate campaign, if you like. So that was it. So that's where I was, and I went round with these sorts of thoughts in my head for a couple of years. And then one day, I was in a pub, I was in a bar, and there's a scene in this book where Will Camden, the narrator, and I'm going to introduce Will Camden, the real person, in a moment. The narrator of this book, there's a scene where Will walks into a bar, and there's a guy in there holding court with some of his friends, and he's going on about the night the Twin Towers attack. By this time, this had happened, the Twin Towers attack, and this guy was saying, "Oh, it's the Illuminati. They've got this secret laser beam weapon on a satellite, and they're beaming it down, and they took the towers down, and it's the same weapon that they used to take out Princess Diana in the tunnel all those years ago." And that scene actually happened. That scene was me in the pub saying that, and Will actually being in the same bar and overhearing me. So in real life, Will came up to the bar afterwards and he said hello to me. And he said to me, I couldn't help but overhear what you were saying to your friends about these laser beam weapons. And he said, "Do you actually believe all that?" And I said, no, not at all. I says, it's just what everyone's saying at the minute, and it's exciting, isn't it? It's fun. And he started laughing. And he said, yeah, that's exactly right. That is why a lot of people talk about it. They find it exciting. It's like being inside a movie, if you like. And he introduced himself, and we started talking, and he seemed to know a lot about these sorts of subjects and topics. And over the weeks and months, we started talking more, and he opened up, and Will started opening up about what he did for a living. And what he did do for a living, he worked in PR. And he had a sort of normal job in PR where he would effectively market coffee brands and tea brands and music and beer and all these normal mainstream things. But he also had a secondary sort of a part-time job, if you like, that was responsible for spreading some of these conspiracy theories. He didn't actually come up with them and invent these theories. It was part of his job to actually promote and help them to spread. And we got talking, and we kept on seeing each other in the pub, and we became friends. And slowly over the months, his story came out to me. And that's it. That's who Will Camden is. He's a real life bloke who works in PR and spreaded conspiracy theories as part of this campaign. And for years, I was telling him that he should put all this down and write the story in the book, and he just couldn't be bothered. It's not from Will. And then 2 or 3 years ago, he approached me. I'd lost my job. I had nothing to do. I was twiddling my thumbs. And he approached me and said, look, he pretty much retired by this stage. And he said he was opening a new website just to put some articles on there about everyday persuasion. Would I like to come along and join up and help him run the website? So I said, yes, on the condition that you allow me to write your book. And he was totally fine with that and said, yeah, go ahead, write my book. So I started doing that, and I managed to write the book. And then I had to come up with a name as well. And I was saying to Sean beforehand that, you know, well, I couldn't come up with a name. I couldn't find a name anywhere. I wasn't going to do it under my name. It's not a very good name. But Will Camden is a good name. And I told him that I was going to use his name, and he just went ahead with it and said, yeah, fine, no problem. So I've effectively stole Will's identity to write his life story and to use his name, and that's where we are. And now the book's published, and we run the website together.
So what's some of the kind of the most interesting or maybe the most shocking thing that you learned while you were writing the book, and as you were getting to know Will and what he did, what just surprised you the most?
You know, I think it was probably his work on promoting the idea of belief in aliens.
Okay.
Before that, I think I was just the same as most other people. I didn't out and out believe in the existence of alien life, but I certainly seen it as a possibility or even a probability, if you like. But Will told me the story that it was partly his job and lots of other people to actually make the public believe in the existence of aliens for various reasons. And I'd never looked at it like that, because he told me that there's absolutely zero evidence for the existence of aliens. It's all built on faith, pure faith, and relying on being told by other people like the media or respected people like physicists that you might see on the TV saying about the probability of, you know, life because of the amount of stars and the amount of planets. And he explained to me all this, and it never dawned on me before how much of our belief in aliens came from third parties, came from external sources. It wasn't, you know, we were being effectively trained to believe in the existence of aliens. So I guess that.
So I'm curious, like, so if that's the case, if there's somebody back there, you know, obviously paying Will to do this, right? To write the propaganda or come up with the ideas. Like I can understand, like, what's the end game for coffee, right? Like, you want to sell more coffee.
What's the end game for?
Yeah, what's the end game when
when
somebody out there wants to start a conspiracy theory and kind of get it out into the public? Like, do we understand like their motives behind that, or have we learned that?
There is a motive, and it is all laid out in the book. I'm not sure whether I actually want to get into the motives now. Okay. I will do briefly.
Okay.
But
give us a little snippet. That way, if people want to get the book, they'll be able to do that.
It's effectively, this is what I've been told, and I believe from what I've seen and I've heard. It's effectively a social management program, not just the belief in aliens, but the whole worldview of conspiracy theories. When I talk about conspiracy theories, the ones I'm talking about are ones that maybe were pushed by people like David Icke 20 years ago. So it's things like belief in aliens as the creator of mankind, if you like. There's a belief in the Illuminati as a sort of cultural bogeyman, if you like, a sort of modern, updated version of how they used to use the devil, the idea of the devil in the old days. There's the thing about the eye in the pyramid symbols that you see in all these music videos, and it's always promoted that these are the signs. All that sort of stuff. So it's the whole idea was to create this new worldview, if you like, this overall worldview that gives people it's an updated worldview from the sort of old religions, if you like, that sort of was a social management program in previous societies. And the reason for it is because of the way the world is changing because of technological upheaval. You know, the whole society, humankind is changing like never before. The whole world is being tipped on its head. Everything we do as a human, as humans, is about to change. So the way we produce food is about to fundamentally change. The way that we give value to our currency is about to fundamentally change. Our healthcare system is about to fundamentally change. Everything is dramatically changing because of technological advancement. Not only is everything changing, it will also have massive big knock-on effects, like the power structure of the world, if you like. All the new tech companies, they've got the resources, the tech know-how. They're going to be taking over from the old world establishments, if you like.
Right. The tech
So I'll stop there. You what, sorry?
The tech oligarchs. I think that's what they're calling them.
Yeah, the tech oligarchs. Well, yeah, well, they've got all the know-how of everything we're going to be doing as humans from now on. Like I say, the way we produce our food, our monetary system, our healthcare system, absolutely everything, our system of government, all of these things are going to be like totally turned upside down as we move on with technology and technological advancements.
So then, let me see if I'm tracking correctly. So then is the purpose of kind of the far out conspiracy theories, is it to distract, or is it more to loosen up thinking so that people are more open to more things?
Yeah, that's more like it. And the way I've described it in the book is that it provides a sort of psychological comfort blanket, if you like.
Right, because if I'm open to aliens, then when something big happens with technology that maybe would have taken 25 years to adapt in the past, now it has to adapt in 6 months because the pace of change is so much faster.
It. Yeah,
so
that's
if,
it.
if we're not,
Exactly.
and if we're super structured and ritualized in religion or whatever, typical corporate job, whatever it is, then we're less likely to adopt the services and the technology that's coming. Is that?
Well, there's a thing. I don't know if you're aware of a book. I think it was from the 1970s by a futurist, and it was called Future Shock. It was Alvin. Yeah, he talked about future shock. How too much technological advancement in too short a time sort of affects us emotionally as people, and society can suffer effectively a mass breakdown, if you like. And so we're at the point now where technology is advancing so quickly, so rapidly, that people are starting to struggle just to keep up with it and to know how to cope with it. And the words that I used in the book is that these conspiracy theories, this worldview, if you like, that they're trying to promote is to offer a psychological comfort blanket, if you like. So a lot of these conspiracy theories operate as almost mythology, the narratives, the mythologies. So there's stories about how all these things came about. And like you were saying, Sean, it's a sort of quick shorthand story about aliens providing all this technology, for instance,
Right.
But that's the idea. I have to say I don't totally understand it because I'm not a psychologist or a sociologist. And when it's being explained to me, it makes sense. But not so much that I can explain it properly. Let's say.
Yeah. So I have a friend I have a friend who's in the financial markets, and he does a lot of advising and stuff. And he told me one time that after like a major correction or a major top or whatever in the stock markets, that the people who get hurt by that, it takes them like 10 years on average to process that, like psychologically, emotionally. And that's why so many people that invest at the top, then they get burned, and it takes them 6, 7, 8, 10 years to get back in. And that's right about the time the next top is going to happen. And they continue to get wiped out because it's just humans just aren't meant to adapt.
Right.
We just don't adapt that fast to to money, to the speed of money, and now the speed of tech is even,
Yeah.
10, 20, 30 times that.
I mean, talking about money, I don't know how much of David Icke's work that you know. He does warn about things, these total collapse, in his words, of all of these institutions in the world,
right,
including a financial collapse. He's often going on about how all our bank accounts are going to be wiped out. There's going to be a huge financial crash, blah, 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 blah. Right. Well, it's probably likely to happen to some degree, because our old monetary system is on its way out, and right. all these new monetary systems are coming in, and they're based on something totally different than they were before. So our money, the way that we used to put value on our monetary system was, in the old days, it used to be just bartering, swapping something like for like. Mm-hmm. And then it went on to using gold, if you like, to put a value on our money. These days, it's about governments and central banks, adjusting interest rates. They effectively give value to our money. Well, with all these cryptocurrencies, the money is just, the value of money is based on something entirely different. It's based on computer
Nobody
power,
knows.
Really. That's it.
Nobody really knows what it's based on.
Well, no, they don't really, do they? But there's going to come a time when those cryptocurrencies take over from our old system of currency, and there's going to be a huge crash. Well, there's going to be a crash in some sort. People are going to have all the savings wiped out. Apparently, I can imagine that is the case anyway. Yeah. But this is the sort of thing that David Icke and all these other people have been warning about. But it's likely to happen just naturally, just because of the way that things are changing because of technology.
Mm-hmm. So you wrote the book as kind of a story, and it says at the subtitle, "This is not a true story." But you wrote it, as any good fiction book is, based on a lot of truth. Because all good stuff is based on truth, right? Even some of these conspiracy theories, there's always a little bit of some level of truth in it for it to really take hold.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of truth in it. When I first started reading these world histories that David Icke would put out, I would guess 90% of it was true. They're sort of verifiable facts. So you could see all these royal families throughout Europe, that they all intermarried. It's factually true. You can check. You can check that the American presidents are all related, and they're all related to English kings, etc. That's all verifiable facts. It's all of these provide a base for reality. They're sort of 90% true. What comes on top of that is the interpretation of what it actually means. When you have all these super elite families all interconnected, it's just natural mathematics. They all intermarried because there's a very small pool of people to marry in that sort of social class. And if you go back just a few generations, you'll probably find that all us three are related anyway. It's just mathematics. Mm-hmm. But the interpretation that the conspiracy theories put on, and is not about mathematics and gene pools. It's about, they say that all of these families are interconnected, and it's because they came from outer space. Is these aliens traveling down to Earth to enslave mankind and all this? So it's the interpretation. So the verifiable facts are quite often true to a large extent. And then it's the interpretation that's put on them that people buy into, is the influence and belief.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember one of my copywriting mentors, he would talk about logic chains and how, if you put one or two true facts, three true facts in a row, then the fourth thing could be just about anything, and people will assume it's also true. Yeah. And that sounds, so you're like, if you start talking about how these, the royals are intermarried and they control the world, and both of those are kind of true, those are true, then the third leap, they must be from outer space and have a plan. It's like, well, yeah, I guess,
Well, I've jotted down a few of these techniques that they use, like techniques of
let's
propaganda, as it used to be called. And one of them is is the foot in the door technique, and that's exactly what you've just described there, Sean. They start off with something very small that's pretty much true. Governments lie to you.
That
Okay,
everybody
we
can
all
agree to, right? It's got to be
that's it.
something universal.
You can agree to that. Governments lie to you. We can all, agree to that. And then they just go to the next take another little step that's also true, and
right.
That politicians lied to you, and that one on the news over there has lied to you. So that's systemic. It's not just individuals that are lying to you. It's the organisation itself. Politicians, the government. And you think, okay, yeah, I can sort of see that. There's more than one of them doing it, and then before you know it, it's all politicians, all the elite families in the world are all lying to you. They're all in it together. They're all out to get you. Blah blah blah. And by that stage, you've sort of took a load of little steps. It's the foot in the door technique. You took a load of little steps, and you've ended up at this place that if they just hit you with that to begin with, you just think they're crazy. But they've built up to it slowly. They built up to it slowly. Introduced one new thing at a time as they've gone along.
In the courtroom, that's called leading the witness, right? I mean, you're just
yeah.
You're slowly moving them. But you got to start with some basic truths, right? That everybody agrees
that's right.
on.
Yeah.
That's so. What are some of the other techniques that have been used?
Well, so I started off. So the first thing that made me sit up and take notice was the card stacking. So that's where they've presented all this information that leads you to one way of thinking, but they haven't presented the other information that could see, where you could see it with a more balanced view, if you like. So that was that.
I've written some of those sales letters.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, one of the guests on the old TV program I used to watch, he was interested in making us believe in aliens. It was American guy called Lloyd Pye. I don't know if you're aware of him.
No. Aliens must have abducted him.
Well, he came across this elongated skull, and it turned out it was a human skull. It was a child's skull with a deformity, and but he claimed that it was an alien skull. And he used to use all this scientific language to sort of dress it up, and he would talk about these instruments that they'd use to do tests on them, and he'd use very scientific language. That technique is called transfer. So, for instance, if you buy a tube of toothpaste and you've got the person standing there with the white lab coat on, giving the impression that it's that they're a doctor or a scientist, for instance, that's transferring the authority of science and medical certainty onto the product that they're trying to sell, toothpaste or mouthwash, for instance. So that's another technique that they use. They use this called transfer. A lot of them call themselves researchers because it sounds scientific. It sounds like they've done a proper scientific research on it, but then they're not researchers at all. So that's another technique.
If I was talking about UFOs, then if I'm hearing you correctly, then what I might do is when I'm talking about the metal, I would use some engineering term, or I would something
absolutely.
that sounds fancy and advanced. And
it's not just with conspiracy theories. These sorts of things are used by lots of people. So influencers, if you like, they're fond of using words like quantum. That's a good word at the minute. And frequency and vibrations. They've all got sort of scientific sort of sound to them, but they don't really mean anything. Not when they're using them on their products, but they use them to transfer that authority of science onto their product to make it sound more than it actually is. So so they like to do that.
What are some of the ways we could spot this is going on, or that somebody's how can we spot that this is not a real thing? Are there any like telltale red flags or clues or anything like that?
Take aliens, for example. Telltale signs that, of course, sometimes that's easy. But they get, I mean, they do get, like you said, they use some sophisticated things to start explaining, you know, things that are obviously anomalies and things that are questionable, that, you know, that are unknown. And, you know, I think they use some of that evidence and some of those truths to assign what it could be. You know, it's like you said, it's kind of like that card stacking where they're,
Yeah. Well, they're very fond in using the idea of probability. They often talk about the amount of stars that are out there, and therefore the amount of planets, and
right.
the odds that life on planet Earth is the only life out there is almost nil. So
Mhm.
therefore there has to be other life out there.
Right.
But then you never really hear from biologists that tell you the odds on life starting.
Right.
Astronomical odds on life starting. Life doesn't just start by pouring some water on a rock. You know, it's massive odds.
Mhm.
And then when you've got life, what about the odds? What about the massive odds of intelligent life starting? You never really hear about this.
Sure.
And then you see these charts where you see the age of the universe, and then the tiny little bit at the end, which is the age of humans, if you like, the age of planet Earth. What are the odds? What are the odds of life starting and then changing into intelligent life, all happening in this one tiny little period of time as well? When you add all these odds up, it probably far outweighs,
Yeah.
the odds of well, comparing the planets and the stars. But listen, I'm not here saying that aliens don't exist and any of these things don't exist. But what I am saying is that there's people out there trying to persuade us and trying to influence us that these things definitely do exist. It might not necessarily be a bad thing. They might be right, they might be wrong, but it's up to you to make that, make that distinction, if you like.
Yeah, and I think now it's become its own industry.
Oh God,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, it does.
I mean, definitely. I mean, obviously, there is one channel, kind of back when you were talking about, but now, I mean, History Channel, Sci-Fi Channel, like you got so many channels that, I mean, they cover this stuff all the time. I mean, there's always
Even the
something
History Channel.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like you said, the History Channels used to be history. Now it's
all over the place now
it's
with
aliens and,
but it's
history of
the
aliens.
whole conspiracy world has grown into its own.
Yeah.
Not even a cottage industry. I mean, it's a mass. I would think it's a pretty massive industry at this point. So
it
now
used
it's
to
just
be
self-perpetuating.
It has.
Well,
It's.
it
I
used,
mean, you think about that, Sean, because it's like it used to be. The stuff like that was reserved for the pages of like Star Inquirer magazine or some,
Yeah.
some tabloid type thing that you would pick up at a grocery store. But now you see it everywhere, and so
well, it used to be known as the alternative media, alternative to the sort of mainstream media. But like you say, it's probably become just as much as the mainstream media. So,
right. And
but the
now
thing
here
is,
in the
people like David Icke used to warn people about the media and all the sort of one-sided stories that they would tell you, and people don't realise that the supposed alternative media is exactly the same. They've got their own
Just telling the
agenda.
other side.
oh
Yeah, it's right. It's right.
Everybody's leaving out the middle.
On the back of the book here, it says this is something that Will used to tell me when I first met him. When he first used to explain to me that he was out there promoting these conspiracy theories, we would talk about the supposed truth movement.
yeah,
He would say to me, he says, the opposite to a lie isn't necessarily the truth. Usually, it's just a different lie. That's all it is. and that stuck with me. That sort of brought it home to me. And I thought, he's dead right. Just because these people are pointing out lies that were being told by the media doesn't mean that what they're saying makes it the truth. It's just a different version, their own version.
sure.
If you like.
Here in the States, I don't know about the UK, but here in the States, I find it interesting. We always get an alien story that comes out at like the timing is always interesting because it drops like during something that's political. So you wonder if like, I wonder.
It's a running joke now. Like, oh, is this a distraction or is this like,
Well, I think there's lots of people out there that want us to believe in aliens. I mean, especially the security services. Obviously, it's a good cover for the CIA and all these sorts of people with testing out new aircraft. It's a great cover story, isn't it? Having people believe in aliens and UFOs and all that sort of thing. But there's probably religions out there that want aliens to be our new creation story, if you like. So they're interested in promoting this mythology as well. And there's lots of different groups that wants us to believe. Even the entertainment industry, it's exciting, isn't it, believing in aliens? So that they want us to believe in aliens. But again, there's absolutely no truth.
And I mean, they make a ton of money off of these movies. I think we got a big blockbuster coming out this summer on
First Contact or what's it called? No, it's called Disclosure Day, I think.
Disclosure Day. Yeah, that's it. Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day.
Yeah, that's a big one. So,
Patrick, some people. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people, and I don't know if this is like, I can see, especially after talking with you, I could see, knowing that there's a PR behind a lot of this, that maybe this was just a double down by the PR firms. But there's a lot of people who they tell us this stuff so that when it does happen, like the reason they make movies like Men in Black is so that when it does happen, we're already prepared for it. So it is real. They're just slowly preparing us for it. So I mean, that sounds like that sounds like a great argument. But I wonder if that's like something that people decided and when they took the theory and ran, or if that was a piece of like, hey, they're not really buying this. We need to up the pressure a little bit. And they come up with an idea like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard all those things before. I don't know. It doesn't ring true to me. I think there'd have to be too many people that are in on it, and they wouldn't be able to keep it. They wouldn't be able to keep it to themselves. Some of the things are really interesting when you see like the Simpsons and these TV programs that do actually show things that do appear to happen. It's interesting, and I won't try and give a reason for it or explain it. I can't explain it. So,
what do you make of
just a coincidence? Humans love putting meaning on coincidences.
Yeah,
we love seeing patterns, and when something like that happens, we have to assign some sort of thinking behind it. We have to assign some sort of truth behind it. We can't just say no, it is a coincidence. But I don't know.
You were going to ask a question, Jonathan?
Yeah, I was going to say. I think I was going to ask what do you make of, when they bring forth people. I always find it interesting when they bring forth people with credentials, Air Force pilots and all of these people who are witness to things, not necessarily aliens. They don't come out and say that.
Paid actors.
Things that are unexplainable. But, again, going back to leading the witness, they like to insinuate.
Well, that's another technique. That's known as the third party technique.
Right.
Or where they do. I mean, they have Air Force pilots, and they always say things like, I've seen some things that I'm not allowed to say. And this sort of thing, like you say, they insinuate things, and because these people have authority, there's this thing called authority bias that people naturally, believe the more they accept what they're being told by somebody they see as having some sort of authority. Or some sort of
in any uniform,
in a uniform, so that sort of thing happens all the time, and it's a slow drip feed, isn't it? Every now and again, one of these people will come up and say that they've seen all these lights you can't explain, blah 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 blah, and it's just a slow drip feed, But it's not just aliens; it's other things. So Will told me, Sean, you asked me what was one of the biggest shocks that Will told me. He told me the whole idea about promoting a belief in the Illuminati as shape-shifting lizards. It sounds ridiculous saying that, and it probably is ridiculous. But it was incredible the amount of people that actually bought into that.
David Icke was big on that.
Yeah.
He's the one that brought it to the He's the one that brought it to the masses. This idea that shape-shifting lizards. It's in my book actually. It's that whole situation is talked about in the book, where Will said to the people that he was working with, he said, "This is ridiculous. People are not going to believe that the world is run by shape-shifting lizards." And they said they will believe if we tell them enough times from enough trusted voices, it will slowly start becoming true. It will start becoming, the illusion of truth, I think they call it.
Well, here's one I have for you that I'm curious about, and if you and Will have ever had conversations about it, the Mandela effect.
Oh, is this where people misremember things? They remember things that didn't.
But do they
misremember,
or did things change? That's the question. Like, it's based on the idea that a lot of people thought Mandela died in prison and then was alive. That's why it's called the Mandela effect. There's all kinds of stuff. It's like the Bernstein Bears. There's whole groups of people that remember the Bernstein Bears, and now they're called the Berenstein Bears. And things like, did the Monopoly guy have a monocle or not?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like, the Fruit of the Loom, does it have the cornucopia on the logo or not? All this stuff like that. That's one of the ones I have a really hard time with, because I do feel like I remember the missing stuff. So it's like, man, it's like,
well, our memories do play tricks on us, don't they, over the years? And
but the mass,
it could be,
the mass of it is kind of interesting. That
there is,
a lot of
people do act differently when they're in a crowd, a psychological crowd, and they do absorb what the crowd thinks, don't they? And maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know, but I don't know. I have heard of this, and I remember when I heard about it, I was trying to think: didn't Nelson Mandela die in prison? I'm not totally sure myself now that it's being brought up, and it puts doubts in your head. But I don't think he did he? No.
I mean, he's alive, so.
Oh, he's still alive now, is he? I don't
know if he's still alive. I can't remember.
No,
my history's not that good. In fact, when I picture him, I picture the actor who played him instead. Morgan Freeman did.
Morgan Freeman, yeah.
So he's still alive.
Yeah. Still going strong.
So Mandela effect's a big. I think. I don't know if people call. Yeah, I mean, I think people call that conspiracy theory, because they're like, why are these companies covering this stuff up, or why are people covering this stuff up, and sometimes it's not even a conspiracy. I think sometimes people are like, it's more of like a jump timeline.
We just misremember things, I would say, and it just takes on this huge group identity, and we all sort of I can't see that being a conspiracy. It's just one of those quirks of how the human mind works, I would say, and people love to put some sort of meaning on it.
Yeah. So if a lot of these conspiracy theories are fueled by PR intentionally, man, where does that leave us with AI and how much AI can imprint on us? Because it looks so, especially the videos that are starting to come out now, that look so real. Another 6 months, 18 months. I mean, video right now, you can still recognize if you're really paying attention, but mostly through the audio, actually. But it's getting hard to tell what's, if somebody wants to fake something, it's pretty easy these days.
Oh, yeah. It is. Yeah, it is. Well, this is why I know we're going a bit off topic here, but this is why I'm quite at ease thinking that humans are maybe some sort of simulation or computer game or something, because the speed that AI is coming up with things that are so real lifelike. I'm quite at ease thinking that, are we actually some sort of computer game or something? Are we actually characters in a computer game? Because it's not out of the question in my mind. I know this is not what we're talking about, really.
But isn't that? I mean, that's one of the conspiracy theories out there. I don't know if you would consider a conspiracy theory. How you define a conspiracy theory, but there's definitely a theory around. I think any theory now is considered a conspiracy theory almost. I don't know that there's a clear definition of when it crosses over to conspiracy, unless you know of one. Like, is there a at what point does it become like a societal conspiracy theory as opposed to just something we talk about, or is there any saturation point, or
I don't know. I've never thought of that. I guess it's just when something becomes part of modern culture, a sort of a group belief system, and they're not announcing it, they're not confirming it in the mainstream media. I guess then it gets the tag of conspiracy theory. But
yeah, especially the more they deny it or don't say anything, that's it. It ramps up really quick. Then
Well, you can't win there, can there? Because if they don't say anything, that's them suppressing this knowledge. If they deny it, well, they would say that, wouldn't they? And there's always an answer. There's always
if they
an
say
answer
it's real but don't
with the
provide
conspiracy.
proof. Yeah, if they say it's real but don't provide proof, then it's like, we knew it was real, but now you're holding back. It must be even bigger than we thought.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Epstein files. I mean, we know that there's a lot of truth in there, but how much and how far does it go? Because, you can take it to the extreme of, every person in.
I mean, that rolls right back into the, the lizards and lizard people and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's all high net worth people, right?
Yeah.
Well, going back to the lizards thing, it was quite interesting when Will was telling me about the idea behind the lizard people. He was telling me that it's the whole purpose of that is like a modern version of the old belief in the devil. People, a few hundred years ago, they used to have this. They used to have this belief in a shape-shifting reptilian that was the cause of all evil in the world, and he had magic powers to make your crops fail or to make people ill and all this sort of stuff. And he said, the Illuminati shape-shifting reptilians now that we have is just an updated modern version of exactly the same thing. And when he put it like that, I thought, he is right. It is just exactly the same thing, just updated for a modern age.
Sure.
I don't know.
Are there people? I mean, are there people that are more susceptible to things like this? I mean, I don't think it's like people that are, people used to say, these are just the people that, buy.
Well, it used to be the crazy people. Magazines. Now it's like,
it's anybody.
It's mainstream now. I mean, conspiracy theories are mainstream.
Yeah. So anybody can jump on board. I mean, it's not just people. It's not the low information people. It's anyone, because, the media, this has been so perpetuated throughout the mainstream media now that it's easy for anybody to get caught up in whatever.
Well, I think we are at a point when there's a big crossover now between mainstream media. That's all dying out, if you like. Everybody's online. Young people, the younger generations don't watch the telly. They don't watch the TV. They don't watch the news. They watch their own version of it online. And
they go, exactly. They're on X. I mean, you see the people, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff on X that you can just get sucked into for hours.
Oh, well, the algorithms on X and all these sorts of platforms, social proof is massive. So you can get sucked into anything. If you see that 1,000 people are all buying into this thing, the algorithm chucks it at you, and you sort of feel.
And then you start getting confirmation
bias. Obliged to go along with it. Everybody else is going along with it.
That's right.
I'm gonna press like I'm gonna go along with it, and it's group theory, isn't it? You want to be part of the group, or you accept things that the masses accept, if you like.
It feeds your confirmation bias, because you start feeding.
Confirmation bias. Yeah.
There we go.
Remember these guys, Jonathan? I put on the screen this is where I first learned about lizard people, right here. This is from the Land of the Lost TV show back in the 70s, right? Yeah, the 70s. These were like recurring creatures on that show. So that's when the lizard people, I guess, came to Earth, or at least the first one we knew about it when we went back in time to Land of the Lost. But what were they called? They were called.
I've never seen this. I was never into science fiction.
Yeah, so this was like an afternoon show back in the 70s that all of us Gen Xers grew up watching, with terrible animation, special effects.
Do you remember the show
Unspecial
that
effects.
was out? I mean, you remember this, Sean? The TV series It, or was it?
Yeah.
No, not It. It was no V.
Oh, V, yeah, I remember
Remember
that.
the aliens came and they looked like us, but underneath their human skin, they were all lizards.
They were all lizards. Yeah. Well, David Icke will tell you that that's more of a documentary than a film. So that is them showing us the reality. They're taking the mick. They're putting it right in front of us. But
yeah, that's that whole, there's that whole world that believes that the reason they show us is so that we're ready when it happens and we don't freak out and we don't resist as much, so they can stay in control and power. It all makes sense. It all adds up. It's so, and I think, like you said early, Patrick, like it's a form of entertainment. Like, people want to believe something, and so many institutions have let us down.
Yeah,
that I think people are just dying for stuff to believe. You know what I mean? Like,
they are.
And so it's kind of weird, because as long as you don't know the truth, then there's a form of hope to that. Because once you know the truth and it's not what you thought it was, then now you got to find something else to believe in.
Right.
But as long as it's kind of out there and there's some hope that maybe it's true, but it's not untrue yet, there's a pull to that. I think that's what drives a lot of sales and marketing and persuasion, is just the possibility and the hope.
Yeah, the thing that's just out of reach. There's something really exciting and interesting. It's just out of reach.
But absolutely.
Keep going.
That's what heaven is, right?
Or it keep working away, and you'll get there in the end.
Heaven, nirvana, like, pick your religion. Like, it's putting it out further, so you're not so worried about whatever's going on today, and
absolutely,
all the strife and trouble and toil of today, that kind of thing. So, well, Patrick,
we go back to assigning blame, which is big in marketing and influence. You assign blame to something, it's amazing how conspiracies follow marketing to such a degree, in that, you think about the the principles of persuasion, social proof. You mentioned, Patrick, authority, using authority as a means of persuading. Assigning blame is something that we talk about all the time, that's used in persuasion. You assign blame to a particular group or particular it's like, it's like, this is the reason for your problem.
So let's have a look. You've got things like Sean, you just mentioned the word hope there. You've got the glittering generalities, they're called, where they use these big words. They use these big words in marketing, in politics, in the media. So Barack Obama, in his poster that says hope on it, it's a great, fantastic word. It sounds really good, but it doesn't actually mean anything when you come down to it. It doesn't, does it? Well, hope for what? Hope for what? It's just one of those words. It's just one of those words that sounds good. It's like freedom. It doesn't really mean anything particularly.
Well, there's, if you go back to probably some Zen Buddhism, or even different, cultures like that. And there's Chase Hughes. Are you familiar with Chase Hughes, Patrick?
No.
He's kind of big in the US right now. He talks a lot about persuasion stuff. But one of the things he said is, he talked about how, as soon as you learn language and as soon as you put a word on something, it instantly shrinks what you were trying to say about that with that word. So when we put a word like hope on this feeling, it actually restricts it and makes it smaller, not gives us more description of it, which I thought was an interesting kind of worldview, because it actually, that's what our brain's trying to do, is trying to find shortcuts, because there's so much information coming in that we've got to chop it up into this stuff. Otherwise we'd be overwhelmed by how awesome, everything is around us. Because
well, that's why we sort of use symbols, isn't it? I think the symbols are just a shorthand, quick reference to sort of sum up a whole concept, if you like. You can have a symbol. So traffic lights, a red traffic light means stop, or a tick means it's correct. And a religious symbol, it might not be referring to the religion. It could be referring to the whole culture of a particular society and everything that it means. But it can all be summed up with one, small symbol, if you like a crucifix or a Star and David. It's a cultural symbol that means so many things all at once. So, but Jonathan, like you were saying, it's amazing how many similarities there are between conspiracy thinking and just marketing and normal persuasion. They use, they use all the same techniques, really. And, that's why I think people that believe in conspiracy theories, they get a bit of a hard rap, really, because they're often portrayed as being a bit stupid or a bit gullible, shall we say, for believing all these things. But they're being persuaded and influenced to believe all these things, and they're behaving in the same way as all humans do. As you both know, we're susceptible to being influenced and having our views and opinions and worldview sort of told to us about what we should believe. We're always just given choices, options, and we choose one of them. Well, if all of those choices and options are sort of carefully arranged, we're always going to choose one. We're always going to choose one that benefits whoever it is that's putting it to us.
Yeah, it's amazing. As sophisticated as our brains are and how amazing our brains are, they are so easy to hack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are.
We hate we hate those open loops too. I mean, we try to close things out. Yeah. And so whenever it's funny because you always watch these shows like these conspiracies, and they always ask questions at the end, right?
Yeah.
And I always find it interesting that they don't like summarize it for you. They ask the questions and let your brain fill in the details.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on, is because they lead you up to a certain point, as you've said, Patrick, and then they ask the question and they let your mind go to work, and your mind just like starts filling in.
Well, it fills in the void with your imagination, doesn't it? And you've already been primed with all the language and the information that they've given you, and you're only going to come up with one conclusion or a couple of conclusions anyway.
Yeah, you watch one of these 2-hour History Channel specials about whatever, and like you're going through it and you're watching it. You're like, oh my God, they figured this out. This has got to be true. Like they got all the data here, and then at the end they're like, they pull the rug out from under you and like, but nobody actually knows what happened. What do you think happened? Like you're saying, Jonathan, it's like, But if you had to guess based on the information, what do you think happened?
Exactly.
And it's
your
like
brain runs wild.
It's got to be true. I just sat here for 2 hours. It better be true.
The human brain, it doesn't like vacuums. It doesn't like not having an answer to anything. So if there isn't an answer, it's going to supply an answer, and it's open to anybody else supplying that answer as well. So it just likes to have an answer to close the loop, if you like, and it doesn't really care too much whether that answer is correct or factual. As long as it's some sort of answer.
Right. As long as it makes sense in your mind and that fills that void. Hey.
That's right.
I find it interesting. We call one other conspiracy that is talked about is, John F. Kennedy. And there's like multiple conspiracies on that. And I find it so interesting how there's so many different stories that are assigned to that, what happened, but that there's no consensus, in actually what happened. It's just that this can't be one man. It's got to be this group. It's got to be this group. It's got to be this group. And everybody has their reason why. And it makes sense, right? I mean, some of those things make sense, but you can't get to a consensus. Everybody has their own interpretation.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I guess somebody knows what went on. Probably quite a few people.
Yeah.
And, and there's plenty of reasons why they wouldn't want to tell us certain information.
Of course.
Legitimate reasons, I would say. They do use this thing about national security, and I think it's it's a worthwhile point that you never know what's going on behind the scenes, why they might not want certain information to get out. But some people see that as a conspiracy. Some people see that as them hiding things. Well, it obviously is them hiding things, but they put their own interpretation on why they're not allowing certain information.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Pastor, this has been a good episode. How do people find the book?
Well, they can find it through the website. It's on Amazon in the UK, but not in the States. But we do ship it out to the States through the website. So if you just look in the shop, it's in there. They can buy it.
And that's at willcamden.co.uk.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Here's the.
Yeah. Real quickly, tell us about your work with Signal Room. Is that what you? Is that the company?
So Signal Room is Will's PR agency, Will's PR company. So it was him and Crispin that worked there, and now Emma works there as well. But I don't actually work there. Will has pretty much fully retired.
You just do the writing.
He's just doing the website, so he's roped me in to do all these articles and sell the books and things like that.
He has a lot of other books.
The agency.
And he's got a lot of other books for people that are interested in this kind of thing. There's a lot of other ebooks and
there's some ebooks. All the themes are related to things that we're told in conspiracy theory. So there's a book, A History of Aliens and Why We Believe. So it's a cultural history of how humans have always believed in creatures from the sky that come down and interact with humans, and the similarities between that and, say, our current belief in aliens. There's things like the real history of the Knights Templar. There's things by Edward Bernays, who you're probably aware of. He's known as the father of propaganda, the father of public relations, if you like. He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, so he understood how the human mind worked, and he wrote a book called Propaganda. So we've got a modern version of that on there, and other books by Gustave Le Bon about group theory. There's some of them. So they're all themes that connect with the themes of the book, and we'll be adding more on. The website's only a couple of months old, really, so we'll be adding some more on as we go along.
Yeah, so that's again, that's willcamden.co.uk.
That's it.
That'll get you to the store and the shop, and a little bit more about what's going on over there on the site. So, Patrick, any last words you want to share?
Not really. Just for people to be aware that all these techniques happen. So so that when somebody is trying to influence them or persuade them, whether it's conspiracy theories or online influencers or politicians or newspapers or whoever it might be, just be aware. Learn to spot these techniques in action, learn to aware that they are trying to influence you, and just look at the other side of things. Get another perspective from another point of view. And then if you still want to go, you have to remember that just because somebody's trying to persuade you or influence you doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It could be a good thing. It could be some sort of public health campaign, for instance. They might be trying to alter your behavior to become healthier or whatever it might be. But bearing in mind that they are trying to influence you, and then you can make a more informed decision whether to go along with what they want you to go along with.
That's a good point. It's not always necessarily bad when somebody's trying to persuade you or influence you.
No, absolutely not. We're trying to persuade. People try to persuade us, every day of our lives. It might not necessarily be a bad thing. They try and persuade you to live a more healthy life, or to stop smoking, or to cut down on drinking, or to do more exercise, and it could go on and on and on. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good stuff. Again, williamcamden.co.uk. You'll find the book, Confessions of a Professional Conspiracy Theorist.
That's it. And we don't just sell books on there. We do all sorts of articles on there about how these methods of persuasion and influence are sort of put on us every day of our lives in just normal, everyday ways. So, things online with the influencers, if they're trying to sell you the latest superfood, if you like. And
I saw the most recent one, the psychology of a Thai restaurant. And
well, that's an example of persuasion and influence being put on us, but not necessarily for a bad thing. That's basically a tourism campaign, if you like, by the Thai government. So they want to encourage people to go to Thailand, and one of the ways they're doing it is through Thai restaurants, giving you a taste of Thai culture, if you like. So it's persuasion and influence, but not necessarily in any bad way. It's just something that we experience all the time without particularly noticing it. That's all.
All right.
So anybody that's listening, if you go there, you can get a free copy of, what is it? Learn the Secrets of Third-Party Persuasion.
Yeah, that's a free download for people. So this is a technique that corporations started doing many years ago. They learned that if they wanted to get a message out there, they would just put it through the mouth of somebody that apparently is not connected to them, somebody that's independent, and we're much more likely, much less skeptical of when it comes from somebody like that. We're much more likely to go through it. So, people can go there and get a free download and see how influencers and all different sorts of people are effectively working as the mouthpiece for other companies that want to sell us a product or a belief or an opinion or a viewpoint. They can download that free of charge.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, Patrick, I know it's getting late there for you. We're going to put you back in the green room as we wrap up, and then we'll come back to you in about 60 seconds.
Okay. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been great.
All right.
Thanks, Patrick. Interesting stuff.
Yes. And now I just got to figure out which ones are telling the truth and which ones are lying to me. So
good luck. Good luck.
It's a whole nother podcast.
That's right. Deciphering the nonsense from the sense.
Yeah. We'll work on the title. We'll smith that title, wordsmith that title a little bit.
Yeah, we'll clean it up.
That's interesting, man. It's and that could be a whole conspiracy theory in itself, right? That there's a PR company behind the conspiracy theories. Could be its own conspiracy theory if we want to blow that up.
Sure.
So,
yeah. We can go back through the years to, stuff that we've been pushed. From the early stages of our childhood, Sean, remember the food pyramid and the old, all of the stuff that we grew up on is, we're starting to learn is rubbish, it's being replaced by other stuff that may be rubbish. Who knows?
And maybe it was a lie. Maybe it was just, people didn't know any better back then.
Could be. Yeah.
You just don't know. It's a little of both, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because, it's definitely some agendas. But yeah.
I do know, speaking of lizards and all of that stuff, going back to the old, the lizard brain that we have, our lizard brain always loves the simplest answer to everything. And so we gravitate to those simple, those simple graphics and those simple, constructs that are put before us. It's like, oh, that makes sense. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I don't have to do too much thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Make me a nice little pyramid. That looks good. You're right.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us. This is episode, again, this is 423. And check us out. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And thanks again to Patrick for joining us, spending some time. Interesting read. Look forward to catching that book soon. Hopefully we'll get a copy and go through it. But to all of our listeners, check it out. And we hope to see you next week on episode 424.
All right. See you.